everyone, and welcome to the Sharper Edge Podcast, episode number 28. I'm so glad you stopped by. Happy to have you here. For you who are visiting for the first time, we welcome you. Thank you for being a part of this podcast today and just kind of giving us a little bit of a listen. We talk about people issues on this podcast. We talk about those things that challenge us, whether we are at home, in our neighborhoods, or at our jobs, wherever we find ourselves, and we have to relate to one another. There are always going to be challenges. So I try to put those out there and help us find ways to better connect with one another. Today's no different. And I try to have a guest. And today, my guest is my wonderful, beautiful sister, Wanda Brown, all the way from Sacramento, California, who's going to come and share. We're just going to have a girlfriend moment. We're going to talk because this sister and I talk often about things of the world, right? She is a deeply spiritual person who knows the word of God. And though this won't be a deeply religious conversation, what we're going to talk about lends itself to our faith and our beliefs. And I believe anybody's faith and belief simply because we're all living this life kind of in the same ways, because we all see what's going on around us. We don't all necessarily know what to do about it. We just know we don't like it. And so, however we approach those things, some of us are doing it in the right way, some of us are doing it in the wrong way, and some of us are just indifferent. So we're going to have this existential conversation, this philosophical conversation. We invite you to be a part of it. Drop in the comments anything you feel about what you hear us saying. We welcome them. I'm also going to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel, share it with other people, tell folks about it, because we're here to just have conversations and to educate and enlighten. So welcome, Wanda Brown. Good to have you here.
Well, welcome and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is gonna be like our phone calls, Wanda, when you and I
Okay.
just chatting about what's going on in the world today. And the one
Okay.
thing we talk often about is humankind and how we, just basically how we deal with each other. We are always on social media. We see
Yes.
all of the things that are going on. We see political things, we see social things, we see societal things. And so, when we see these things, some of it's a lot of fun and funny, some of it's inspiring and uplifting, and then other times it's very disturbing. There's a
Yes.
lot of anger out there, there's a lot of fear out there, there's a lot of bigotry, and hatred is what the focus of our conversation is going to be today. I want to talk about hatred. And I think it's important, Wanda, for us to identify what hatred does to a society,
Hmm.
because I don't think we think about ourselves as being hateful at times. We just say, well, that's just me. That's how I feel about it. It's my opinion. You don't like it, just scroll by, right? But
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
opinions aren't always right. Our opinions,
Right.
just because their opinions don't mean that what we're saying is right. So when you think, and based on the things that you've seen and even heard, even off of social media, just the way you've seen people interact with each other, what do you see in terms of people's the fallout, I guess, or the byproduct of somebody who enters into, even if it's just communications with somebody, in
Hmm.
a way that it's not loving at all. It is all of those things I just described. It is, it's bigotry, it is jealousy, it is
Hmm.
just a lack of care and concern for the other side. What do you see in terms of people's behavior when that is what's in their hearts? We can only assume that's when their heart, because their
Yeah.
actions show it, right?
Yes. Yes. What I'm finding is that even in California, you find stressors that lead to that, right?
Mhm.
And if it is nurtured and coddled, it turns into something more hostile. And then the more hostile it becomes, then you find that people are capable of doing things that dehumanize others.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's when it gets really corrosive. And I mean, out here, we're fearful of blowing our horn, even if it means alerting somebody of something, a pending safety hazard, right? You're
Mhm.
afraid to do that. And they will get out of their cars and they will approach you, right? So we are living in fear. And it's like, I don't like that
Mm-mm.
because I think that life is too beautiful. I think life is too powerful. I think that we were designed to interact with each other where we bring encouragement I mean, who wants
Right.
to live a life like in the dark, right? We want to shine, right?
Hmm.
So it does. It manifests itself in ways that we would even imagine, couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. You know, when you're saying something as simple as honking a horn to alert somebody to something, right? They can be in the wrong, dead in the wrong, but the anger that exists in them for whatever reason, it seems like everybody walks around so angry these days. They got these
Yes,
chips on their shoulders and they're worried about how they feel immediately that somebody's trying to attack them. They don't assume, the best in people, they assume the very worst.
that's right. That's right. And I'm also seeing the number of murders. I mean, now we've gotten to the point where children don't matter, right? Schools are
Mm,
not safe. Churches are
mm-mm.
not safe anymore. Our communities are not safe anymore. So then where are we going to go if we don't stand up, if we don't uh, be a catalyst for change, even in our small little communities, right? If
Mhm.
we don't stand up now and do something, we're going to see the destruction of our society.
Oh, and it sounds like it's already collapsing in a lot of ways because I feel like, and I hear people say it all the time, I mean, we're just more divided now than we've been in a very long time. And that keeps getting somehow multiplied. We need a unifier. We need
Yeah.
somebody who will get rid of the divisive language and all of
Yes.
the things that cause people to, not be able to connect with one another. We're talking about hatred. So to me,
Right.
when you speak like that, when you use certain language, certain words that divide people, when you call names, when you accuse and belittle, when you demean and denigrate, that's not anything that's going to make a person feel inclined to be attracted to the other person. And when you
Exactly.
use that language to talk about groups of people and you keep
Yeah.
enforcing and reinforcing that in the minds of the people who follow you, then they take on the same kind of rhetoric you do. They parrot the same things you say and they tend to believe like you believe. I think all of that's driven from a sense of hatred, don't you?
Absolutely, it is. There's always a root cause of what we're seeing displayed in society. And of course, we all know being African American, being people of color, period, right?
Mhm.
Being a woman in a male dominated society. I mean, it manifests itself in so many ways. And it's like, I think we're seeing where hatred is taking us in areas we've never expected our country to be, never
Mhm.
expected our communities to be. Where you can't trust your neighbor. I mean, who
Right.
else? So it manifests itself and it continues to grow, it continues to corrode, it continues to eat away at us. And if there isn't some moral anchor that we have in our own lives,
Hmm.
it's easy to become that when your whole society is saturated with it, right?
Hmm.
But some of us have made our minds up that we're not going to be that way. We're
Yeah.
going to stand. I mean, what's inspiring to me right now are those monks that are
Yeah.
traveling through different states on their way
Hmm.
to Washington, D.C. It's
Hmm.
like you have to wonder if God is not sending a a piece of hope for us,
Hmm.
that there are people who will walk, who will sacrifice for peace, who will stand in the stead of
Hmm.
what our government should be doing to say, it's time to wake up.
Hmm.
Destruction is pending. It's time to wake up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
listen, and the monks got heat for that though, and are still getting heat for it by Christians mostly by Christians. This is so disappointing to me as a Christian that we would be so judgmental. Now, do you see any Christians walking 2,300 miles in the name of peace? No, but they're disturbing the peace just because they don't like those people's faith. Listen, I'm
Right.
nobody's saying you got to be a Buddhist. I've already kind of posted about
Right.
that earlier. You don't have to be a Buddhist, but the universal language is peace. So why can we
Right.
not embrace that rather than, I'm going back to that word hatred? There's a certain sense of hatred. Now, a person who's a so-called Christian will come and say, no, I don't hate them. I'm just trying to save them from themselves because the only way to God is through Christ. And then they want to get preachy, right? But you're
Hmm.
ignoring the fact that in your effort to be a bit of a testament to what's right and what's good, you're being hateful.
Absolutely.
You're casting all kinds of um, just all kinds of aspersions on those people because you don't agree with them, and
Exactly.
neglecting to say, okay, I might not have the same faith as them, but I will co-sign on their message of peace. And so here's what I'm going to do as a faith-filled person, and they're doing their walk. How can I support that? And so here's
Right.
what we're going to do in the name of peace as Christians. But some of
That's
these
right.
so-called Christians are the worst people out here in all of their judgment and hatred.
And I think that we need to consider what Christianity really is about. I think those are religious people, right? Because
Right.
those who know Christ in their hearts know what peace looks like. They know
Mm,
what peace feels like, and they want it for others, right?
right.
So those religious people who,
Mm,
under the guise of Christianity, are missing the mark about what God has put in place for us to survive in a loving way with each other, right? And so,
mhm,
therefore, we do have to take a stand. We do have to support. We do have to encourage one another to move towards that, because hatred is a mean and cruel thing
mhm,
to live in, not only for the person who hates, but also for the person who's the recipient of it, right? It's
mhm.
eating away at the person who hates. He will
Ab-
never find peace. I don't care if it's worldly peace. I don't care if
mhm.
it's moral peace. He's not going to find that, or she won't find that, right?
Right,
And of
right.
course, as we've spoken, I've experienced that as well. That hatred where companies will break their own laws just to get rid of people of color, right?
Mhm,
And we know what we've had to do to survive the injustices of it all, right?
mhm.
Instead of turn into hatred, we pray for them, right? Because
Yeah.
we understand we need something greater than ourselves to do that. And unfortunately, the world is definitely sending us a strong message that
Mm.
there needs to be something greater than yourselves in order to survive what hatred produces.
Yeah. Well, from a human standpoint, we don't even realize, as strong as we think we are so frail in our resolve to make things right. Anything will take us off, topple us, and we are back into that pit, right? So it
Hmm.
takes a lot of work to be to fight through some of the things that we have to experience. And there would be people who would tell you, Wanda, oh, there she goes, race baiting. Okay.
Hmm.
Or,
Hmm.
oh, it's about because you're a woman, you're a
Hmm.
victim again. Y'all always make yourselves into victims. I hear that kind of stuff, see that kind of
Hmm.
stuff on a regular. They don't want to hear our stories. They don't want to hear the things we're actually experiencing.
Hmm.
And
But
so when I say they, I'm talking about people who aren't like us, who don't
right,
have to
right.
endure what we have to endure. Go ahead.
Right. I would love to talk to some of those people now who've lost their jobs because they didn't do anything wrong. They
Hmm.
just weren't in the right political arena, or those who can't afford to take care of their sick children
Hmm.
because you don't have health care like you used
Hmm.
to, right? I mean, these were things that people of color struggled with all their lives, and we've endured and we've overcome and we've shared.
Yeah.
I had a lady to tell me, she says, the only reason why you don't have the type of money that we have, and she was a Caucasian lady, investor,
Mhm.
she said,
Mhm.
it's because you guys take care of each other. We
Mm.
don't.
Oh.
And I found that as an eye opener, right? I'm poor
Mhm.
because I take care of my family if they're in trouble, but you
Mhm.
don't. I mean, and
Mhm.
hatred is the same way. It's like, I'm going to take care of me. I don't care what color you are. If I'm pushed in a corner, I'm going to
Right.
hate you just like I hate anybody else, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes hatred manifests itself in even their own communities,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
But they
yeah.
expect it because of white privilege. We've all talked about that. And whether they want to believe our stories or not, it does not make them any less true, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
we are just walking in a time when I think everybody is experiencing what we've always experienced.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And it doesn't feel good.
And we're right. And we're missing, and people like to, I guess they think to be empathetic is to be weak, but that is not the case at all. So even though as a Black woman, I've had my experiences, I know so many of the experiences that I've talked to other Black people about, and it's very similar, right? Everybody's story is pretty
Hmm.
much similar. The kind of rejections that we've had to face simply
Hmm.
because, and we know clearly when you have lived as a person of color, you know that when certain rejections happen, there's an extra layer that a
Hmm.
white person wouldn't have to deal with. Okay, so
Hmm.
let's say somebody, I remember when my kids were like 4 and 6 and they were outside playing in the front yard, and this guy, a white guy, runs by because people always walking and running in the neighborhood. The kids run to the edge of the street and they're waving at him. Hey, good little neighborly, they're kids, right? They just see a man, so they're waving. he looks right past them. He just keeps his head straight up. He doesn't, and they're right there. I mean, it's not like he can't say I didn't see him. So if this happened to a white person, they could easily say, oh, well, he's just a rude guy, a guy who doesn't like kids.
Yes.
That's all they would have to be able to say. But we have to
Right.
say, oh, he's a rude guy, and he's probably rude because he hates Black people or Black
Right.
children. We always have to have that extra layer on top because we've experienced so much like that before. It's always something we've got to be cognizant of, because some people will hide it and others will say it to your face. And we've all had an experience when somebody says something really racist and misogynistic to our faces, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
to
yeah.
deny our experience just because you haven't been through it doesn't mean it's real. And we have lots of those stories that we've experienced in
Exactly.
our lives, you know?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and you, I know you've had the same.
Absolutely. And to see what is happening to our country, I mean, I would have never thought that I could encounter a masked person, no ID, grabbing me on the street,
Mm-hmm.
pulling me out of my car, cutting my seatbelt and pulling me out of my car,
Mm-hmm.
and throwing me down, and I don't have a right to say stop.
Right. You're supposed to just, oh, they say comply. How many people who have complied and still gotten their butts whipped, gotten themselves thrown all over the place, and even killed? And these are generally people of color. Now, there are white people who will come back and say, but this happens to white people too. Let's look at the comparison between how frequently that happens with whites versus people of color, because we're already over policed as it is. And where I was going with empathy statement, that empathy statement is we're not facing that yet as
Yeah.
African Americans born and raised in this country, but we can be empathetic enough that we say this might not be happening to us, but oh my gosh, how sad is that it's happening to this Somali person or this Hispanic person or this Asian person, right? It doesn't mean
Yes.
you stop feeling hatred. Is what makes you stop being empathetic to another person who's suffering and struggling. I get it that they're trying to remove people who are the worst in society. Great.
Right.
I mean, that we would all be behind that.
Right.
But we see very clear evidence that that's not the only thing that's happening. They are catching U.S. citizens, people who are either naturalized or born and raised here, and they are just totally mishandling and misusing these people. And then after they recognize that they're wrong, they just drop them off and leave them, oops, and not even
Yeah.
sorry. They just drop them back wherever they found them. And they leave this really nasty taste in the mouths of everybody who has a heart to say that's just flat out wrong. How these
Yeah.
other people justify this, I don't understand. That's hatred, in my opinion. That's what hatred manifests when you can't
It
hold
does.
yourself and others accountable.
Definitely. Self-control,
Yes.
moral compasses, all of these things we need to be human, to be caring, to be
Mm-hmm.
compassionate. And when you start losing those things, wow. And with the failure of I think the misunderstanding is that we need everybody's gifts in order to make this country great,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We need everybody's talents. God has put something in every human being
Yes.
that is going to be the anchor and the foundation of a great nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we fail to recognize that and we start compartmentalizing people's value and worth based upon their color, what
Uh-huh.
they look like, what
Mm-hmm.
I think you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Passing judgment. We're missing the whole essence of life, the whole
Absolutely.
appreciation and beauty of what life was formed for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we got to get back there. And I'm so afraid that, once you let the cat out of the bag, that cat is going to do a lot of damage before you get it
Oh
back
yeah.
in.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, the cat is out of the bag. And my prayer is that I hope that enough people who really do understand the worth of each other, the
Mm-hmm.
value of each other, will stand up and try to reverse what we're witnessing. I mean, we
Yeah.
have children, next generations coming. If this
Mm-hmm.
country truly is to be great, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has to appreciate the worth of its human capital.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, that part is where love comes in, right? It's because
Absolutely.
it's either hatred or it's indifference. That's what I've
Yes.
kind of, and just to say I don't hate somebody, try to stay neutral in a situation where you're seeing so many things going wrong is just as bad.
Yes.
So you can't just stand over here and say, well, that's not my problem. I'm just going to be over here minding my business. No, we all have to speak up and speak out when we see things that are wrong. So what we ought to be preaching is and talking about is what you're talking about. So then what does love look like when it manifests itself? What would that look like? And if you're going to say you are a Christian and you're a follower of Christ, who always preached about the least of these, right? And
Hmm.
inviting people in and being thoughtful and caring towards the immigrant and the visitor and being
That's right.
hospitable and all of those things. How do you get up on any stage or any platform and say, I'm a Christian, I'm a follower of Christ? How do you preach in a pulpit and yet turn a blind eye to people who are being mistreated in this country? And in that mistreatment, it goes clearly against what the word of God says. I can tell
Exactly.
people ain't reading no Bible because the
Exactly.
Bible is just, I mean, it is laid bare in terms of here's how we're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, right? We didn't say love
Absolutely.
criminals. We're saying love those people, whether they're here legally or not. And here's the other thing, Juan, I'm gonna say real quick. I get it. There are rules and laws that are in place for people to do this thing right. The one thing people aren't talking enough about is how broken our immigration system is in terms of people trying to do it right. There are
Right.
people who have come from what I understand. Seen story after story after story where there were people who actually were going to their immigration hearings, people who are making all of the efforts to do what's right. Some of them have been waiting for a green card for 20 years, things like that.
Yeah.
The process we have in America is broken. If they fix
Yes.
that, then people can go through the normal means and get things done faster. But when you
Exactly.
haven't fixed that as a nation, then you can't fully hold those people accountable when you haven't done what you needed to do, make the pathway right. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, it's just unfair and it's hypocritical.
And it's almost like we're living in two countries, one that is law abiding and one that is lawless. And you have
Hmm.
children growing up watching this, trying to determine what is right. We're trying to teach the next generation how to respect our officers, our public servants, who are here to protect us and keep us safe, right? But when you have the notion that there's two Americas, one that is abiding by the law and the other that is lawless, I mean, how do you convey that um, confusing message to children, right?
Yeah.
Because this is
Hmm.
the next generation that is going to keep this country strong. And we want them to grow up with a clear view of what respect and moral values look like, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that despite their color, they go to school with kids of varying nationalities where there is no separation or division among them because of that they can love on each other, that they can become friends, that they can grow up and become friends.
Yes.
So I'm finding that if we can't convey the kind of love that changes in our generation, we definitely have to impact the next. Our
Yes.
grandchildren have to take what real love looks like into the future. We have to fight for what is going on right now. Even though there's a great divide,
Hmm.
the power of love, you and I well know what that looks like. We've
Babe.
grown our whole lives loving on each other, respecting each other in a family of 8 children,
Hmm.
never fighting, never having any issues. We learn how to read the room, and when it's your time to step up, we are the support system for you. Well,
Yes.
well, I think that's what life is about. That's what I think our country is about. I love this country.
Hmm.
Many people love this country, and
Right.
we don't want to see our country torn and divided. And now it's not about people; it's about party. We
Yes.
we need to stop that, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
my daily prayer is that God will wake this nation up to the value that we hold here, to the beauty that we hold here in each other.
Hmm. Hmm.
Diversity, we want to hear about diversity of thought, but guess what? There's power in that because diversity of thought brings about varying perspectives. I
That's
can see
right.
life the way you experience it. You can see life the way I experience it. No judgments.
That's the point. No judgments. We were talking about the monks earlier. They practice mindfulness, and anybody who practices mindfulness will tell you that mindfulness is a state of being in the present without judgment. It's about just being where you are, experiencing that moment at that time, not questioning it, not trying to figure it all out, not trying to judge whether it's good or bad, but just being. And sometimes we
Yes.
need to do that just in life in general. Just kind of think about, it's okay where I am. I want to be in a place of peace. By me being a peaceful person, I affect the environment around me. So I bring peace with me. I spread that peace to other people, and I do that without judgment. I don't care what you look like, how old you are, all of those things that people judge, the very superficial, very physical things. It is
Yes.
about our state of being. So if I can get along with you and make you feel safe with me and that you can trust me, and you do the same for me, we will be good neighbors. We will be good friends. We would be in a safe environment. We will have a strong nation, right? And we'll learn to
Yes.
work together. But
Yes.
unfortunately, as you just mentioned, there are people who are going to judge situations just based on how a person looks, and then their very warped view of what they think about that person, whether it's true or not.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh my gosh. So love. Let's flip it over then now. We've talked about what hatred looks like. Let's keep on this pathway to love, because I love the way you talked about what that looks like from a familial standpoint. So how does that get transferred, Wanda, then into society? How we grew up as a family that you described. What if the nation looked like that? What would you imagine the country would be like if we practice that kind of love for one another?
Well, being in the workforce, we always did pay attention to employee development. Let's go there. And I always understood that those that were under my supervisory stance, right, were children of somebody else, right, who they entrusted with me when they came to work.
Hmm.
And as a result, being a Christian, I always thought it was my responsibility to make sure to develop them fully in the gifts that I saw in them. I provided rotational opportunities where they can work in each other's jobs. And luckily enough, what I hired them for were not the jobs they were the best at. And it so happened that because the rotation afforded them the opportunity to learn what the other employee was struggling
Yeah.
with,
Hmm.
other eyes were placed on different tasks. We found out that they were able to help each other better. They were
Hmm.
able to understand each other better since the jobs were all connected, one depended upon the other to do his or her job. It ended up where they bonded. And so they bonded in a way where it became a family.
Hmm. Hmm.
Respect came, and they were all different nationalities,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was amazed at what walking in another person's shoe does,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? They got it
Hmm.
to, while they once complained about why that person wasn't doing a certain thing, they had an opportunity to do their job. And when
Yeah.
they did, they found out, oh, that's why.
That's
This is
why.
why there's a struggle, right? And it ended up where they were satisfied landing in each other's positions.
How about
And
that?
I loved it. And they took so good care of me. I loved it, right?
And then
So I felt like
there's
their
that
mom.
advantage. Yeah.
Right, right. It was a great event. The whole atmosphere of the office changed. They became stronger. Their gifts started manifesting themselves. Their skills improved. And I mean, some went on to even greater
Yeah.
jobs, much greater
Yeah.
jobs than what they started out under me. But it's about respecting and honoring each other. You can't beat that.
No,
Everybody has that innate ability to want to feel loved and respected. Everybody wants to be valued. I don't care where your trauma came from.
that's
I
right.
don't care what your home life was like. As a human being, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is true.
Hmm. Hmm.
We want,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I operate on that level and add Jesus on top of it, right?
You better know it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
especially look at the level of belonging, because we
Yes.
all have a need to belong, right? And so
Yes.
when we start ostracizing one another and cutting each other off and saying you don't belong here, you need to go back to wherever you came from, and all of those ugly, hateful things that are being said, it is hard to manifest love in a situation like that, or to have a person be their very best when they're living in a place where it is oppressive, when nowadays people have to live in fear, not only of walking down the street or going to school or church or to buy things that they need because they might get picked up only because of their language or whatever their skin color is or what they look like or whatever their ethnicity is, whatever they however they might be perceived as somebody who's not supposed to be here, and then they get attacked for it. Not even let me just walk up and ask you a question, but I'm going to attack you. Now no longer, they don't even have to worry about that. They got to worry about now a battering ram coming through the front door and these people coming inside their houses and snatching them out that way too. Fear has now entered the picture, and there is a lot of that, and intimidation and punishment. And that's, I guess, supposed to keep people in check. I don't know. But what if we led from what you were talking about, from a place of support and a place of understanding and of empathy? What I heard you describe was servant leadership, the way you ran your department. So you said that you felt like it was your responsibility as a leader of that department to make sure you nurtured the well-being of the people who were under you, to make sure that they're at their best. That's what servant leadership looks like. It's not about you, it's about the people you're with, because you're supposed to be growing them, you're supposed to be helping them, you're supposed to be shaping them and molding them. And whether they stayed with you or not, if once they left, they go to something bigger and better. And I hope, hopefully, as a leader, you say, I hope I made a big enough impact on that person that they can say, I learned so much when I was working at blah, blah, blah with Ms. Brown, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's what a good servant leader will do. They will put themselves aside and make sure that they are, actually pushing their people to be their best. And I don't know if people fully understand what servant leadership looks like.
No. And even the power of family, because I'm telling you, even in the darkest trials that I've had with racism, knowing that I had sisters and brothers, that had my back no matter ride or die, my ride or dies.
Right.
It's like that gave me strength that I've never relinquished my value to anybody. No one defines me. You can misuse me and you can mistreat me, but you will never define me.
You know who you are. And you know whose you are, from your daddy and mama right here on earth to you, to the one you serve, right? Yes. Yeah. So as we kind of start wrapping this up, I do want to leave people with some practical advice around how do we change our environment. Yes, it seems to be just running amok right now. It seems in some ways we feel a little helpless. And we might even end up venturing into hopelessness because we feel like the situation is too big and we can't control it. There's nothing we can do until voting time. And now people are even worried about that situation. Will that be true? Will it be fair? Can we depend on it? So from an individual standpoint, even though we might not be out marching in the streets with signs, what can we do? What kind of advice would you give somebody around how, as a single person, you can go out into the world and choose love and spread that love? What does that look like? How do we do that?
My philosophy on life with that has always been go to a quiet place, reflect on your own life first. Look at where you are. What are you contributing? What are you feeling? And if it's negative, why?
Why?
Right? The noise of the world causes us to deflect. We're always looking out. We hardly take time to look in, because I've always wanted to be the better Wanda. And I know she evolves. She's transforming into the Wanda I really want. I think every individual has to do that in order for this world to be better. You have to be better. And you can't be better if you're not examining your own motives and intents, if you're not wanting to be better than you are right now, right? And to know that you can be. You just have to want to be.
You got to want it. Yes.
Yeah. And I wanted it. And so there are some things I just refuse to allow in my life to make me any less than what God created me to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my energy and my inspiration. Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. So do some self-examination. That's throughout my podcast. I talk about introspection, right? And so do that self-examination. Sit with you and examine you, own your stuff, and then look at whatever's coming up and out of you is what you are going to bring into the world. So if all of that hatred and ugliness exists in you, if you want to own it and be true about it, then we've got to change that and
That's
look for
right.
something. Because like you were saying, it eats up the person as well. And
Yes.
so, and I'm gonna leave with this. I was teaching Bible study last night, and I was talking to them about what Peter was describing in Second Peter around these false prophets, right? These fake
Mhm.
Christians, basically, is what they were. And he talks about, he quotes a proverb that talks about a dog returning to his vomit, his own vomit, right?
That's
And
right.
so he's talking about on the inside, whatever corrupted that dog, whatever made that dog sick on the inside, whatever caused him to regurgitate, that's something that's within him that's causing this ugliness to come out of him right now. I
That's
don't know
right.
what dogs do when they return to their vomit. I don't want to know. All right. But I appreciate the fact that he's saying from the inside is where the corruption
Yes.
is. That's where the ugliness
Yes.
exists. And it's got to come up and out. And what does that look like when it comes up and out? And when it does, do you go back to that thing? Or do you try to heal yourself from the inside and be better, right? He also
Hmm.
goes on to talk about a sow, some kind of swine that goes, and no matter if their handler cleans them up, they go right back to the muck and the
The
mire,
mud.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah, you had a
Hmm.
chance to be clean, and from an external, the dog is the internal issue. The pig is the internal, and then the external, right? It's the
External.
stuff that
Uh-huh.
you do on the outside. Yeah, you go back into the muck and mire. So who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you
That's
doing
key.
in your life? Yeah, and allowing yourself to have around you that will cause you to stay in those hateful and terrible and awful situations. So
Yes.
he's saying, get away from all of that, right? These people are
Yes.
fakes, they're phonies, they don't mean you well. And if you're not careful, you're going to be down in that same mud that they are, never achieving what we needed, in terms of what we were placed here to do, those
That's right.
purposeful
That's
things.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's my little mini sermon for today. And
All right. Love you.
I love you too. I appreciate you sitting in and talking with us a little bit today. I always enjoy our conversations because they really do get to the heart of the matter. And I just think from a societal standpoint, we can do more. We have the power to do more. And whether we're on the streets protesting or doing a quiet protest on our own, there's still a way to protest hatred. And we do that by changing what we know that's hateful into something that's loving. So thank you to
Yes.
everybody who stopped by to take a listen. We invite your comments. Please drop them in the chat. Your very respectful comments, your meaningful comments. We invite those. And I invite you to come back next week for episode 29 when we talk again about those people issues and those things that we can change. So thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, love.